Here we are. New Jersey. What am I doing in New Jersey? I don't know. A highway overpass. There was a sign before you get to this little part where you park your car. It says Scenic Overlook. And this is the Scenic Overlook you get to look at when you park your car right over here. Right next to the work equipment, hon. This is called the Abbott Marshlands. I believe that's the Delaware River, right? I don't know. I don't know if I need to pull over to see this, but, you know, I did. So I made a wrong turn and wound up in Mount Holly, New Jersey. What we're going to do today is we're going to prison, hon. We're going to go check out the historic Mount Holly prison. And actually, modern day prisons. The way they're designed are all based off of this prison, about 20 miles, 30 miles outside of Philadelphia. It was opened in 1811, and it was a prison up until 1965. It's a museum now, and you could take tours, which is what I'm going to do. Let's go. Man, check out this door. You see all the metal rivets on the door. That's on there. So if anybody ever tried to break into the door with an axe, it would break their axe. This section of the prison was built for petty thefts. And when you go to prison, they would actually, this prison was built before heating was really used. So they would actually give prisoners logs to sit in their cells with, and they never beat up a prison guard. And usually the prison guard was the warden's wife, who lived somewhere in here for a little bit because they didn't have a warden's room. It was a small town, it only had 20,000 people. Also, before the time of cots, prisoners would lay on it was like a big pillow sack, but they would actually cut strips out of these sacks and use them to escape out of prison. And there you go. That's an 1820, that's a prison toilet. That's what you would use. And they would just dump that in the outhouse. They didn't have overnight prison guards. So every night the warden would walk through this door across this bridge to get to the prison. And check out what you see out this window. Uh-oh. Gallows. People actually were hung here. And these are the prison cells that they used near the end of the prison, 1955 to 1965. They would have two guys in a cell this size. Some of the cells even had 3 people in them. You get to go in this cell. This window didn't exist in the 50s. So what the prisoners would have to do is stuff rags and towels in that little space to keep warm in the winter. They would also do graffiti. They would graffiti the calendar on here. So cool. October. Oh, he's getting home soon. Wow, I couldn't imagine just being stuck in a cell like this. With 3 people. And this is the debtor cell. Look at this. You would get in prison for debt. And now we get mad for getting debt collector calls when we owe people money. But this is a debtor cell. So one time there was 39 people in this cell because they owed debt. Now, debtors weren't treated as poorly as people who committed a crime. They would have a window that they could look out. They could also bring in their own clothes and writing tools, and they were allowed to have visitors. There was a Supreme Court justice named James Wilson, who he actually helped shape the U.S. Constitution. He was in prison twice because of that. 39 people. I don't even know how you do that. Here's some more prison graffiti. They weren't able to go out and really do much, so a lot of them just drew on the walls to pass time. And the historical society that runs this prison preserves all this stuff. You look at this cell. This is the death row cell, sort of, kinda, but this is a cell. Look at that. It has a place in the middle of the cell where you would be locked up to chains and you couldn't get out of the cell. This is the second floor. They would put the most dangerous prisoners in here, and there's the reason why they did that is because in the early, in the 1800s and the 1900s, prisoners would dig tunnels to escape, and if you're in the second floor, you can't dig and escape. And also, I think the warden's room was directly under here, so you can't go nowhere. Down this corridor, they have a bunch of cells that you can actually walk in and explore. And they built this little walkway so prisoners could get to the bathroom back here. Right. They also have down here, there was a peephole that went down to the women's bathroom directly below. Go to the bathroom. We also got some graffiti. Isn't that nice of the people to, you know what, guys? You guys drill a hole here. There's one really cool drawing above this cell. It says God. There was a jailbreak from here in 1875. A hole punched through the ceiling of the upper corridor of the cell, and 4 men escaped, climbed down the wood pile next to the prison yard wall. So 4 men escaped. There was actually 5 guys in the cell, and the 5th guy was a little too big to get through the hole, so he snitched on everybody who escaped because they left him behind. Here's some more graffiti. I'd be so pissed. And this is the women's part of the prison. And right here, this is the oldest piece of graffiti in the prison from the early 1900s. It's like a little portrait. Women would get arrested for crazy things in the early 1900s. Adultery would be one of the things women would get locked up for. Wonder if men got locked up for that. Yeah. And there's the peephole they built in the wall for the men. This room here was a workshop area, but after a while, they ran out of space and they had to use it for a prison cell. If you see here are guys sitting here in prison, you can see those pipes right there are the same pipes right here. Yeah. They would have 12 bunks in this corridor, and they had the nickname for this corridor was the subway. 12 bunks, man. Yeah, there was over 100 prisoners in here in the 60s when they closed this down. Lack of space and whatnot. This is the lunchroom to the prison, and you can take this door and you can go out here to the prison yard. Sometimes the prisoners were allowed to eat outside. This is probably the way some of the prisoners who were hung in this prison yard. This is the last door they walked through. Hi, happy memories. And this is the jail cell for the prison cook. Look at this. The prison cook had a pretty big cell. It doesn't look like it until you get over here. And their bunks would be here, and they could stay and prep meals, wash food, and it was actually a rare treat to be the prison cook because you had so much space. The prison first started using a fireplace as a stove, and then eventually it wound up getting, a proper stove. Some guys who were the prison cook, they would say to the prison guards while they were leaving, they would say, yo, cuz, do me a favor. Don't let anyone else take my job. I'll be back in a few days. It's good to know yourself. And there's the women's room. There's the men's room. Here's a look at the wall. You got the plaster. This is pretty thick plaster too. It's about 2 to 3 inches thick. And then you got the river rocks. Kind of hard to get through. I'm in the prison yard. Man, look at the tree in the prison yard. There were hundreds of escapes from this prison. I talked to the guy who working at the gift shop, and I love when you go to historic locations and the people who work at that historic location actually love history, because you could just talk to them for a second and they'll go on for, you could just talk to them for a little bit and they'll just spew out as much knowledge as they can. This is the hanging gallows. 6 people were hung here. I believe he said 3 other people were hung off-site. Right there, that was the warden's house. So the warden, they built this house next to the prison so the warden could just walk across that bridge. They didn't have enough prison guards back in the day. Hundreds of escapes. Oh man. What are you thinking? What's going through your mind when you're getting ready to be hung? Like, imagine if you were innocent, because, you know, they didn't have DNA or any of that stuff, and, you know, everybody claims they're innocent. Well, most people say they're, oh, I didn't do it. Imagine, like living in the time of the Salem witch trial, and like they're like, he's a witch, and or she's a witch, and oh my God. Sell tickets to the hanging. They actually have a ticket inside the gift shop. So cool. I mean, that's not cool. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the death penalty. I know buying tickets to watch somebody die, that's morbid. Morbid AF, as the kids say. Look how high the walls are. Actually, if you got a good running jump, you could probably jump off parkour. You could parkour if you were. Here's that door we were looking at earlier. And imagine you're getting ready to get hung and you have to take the walk. Uh-oh. I would walk as slow as possible. I would trip. I would fall. I would make them carry me. You would have to carry me to go up the gallows steps. Nah, I sprained my ankle because I can't walk. No problem. We'll carry you. You got to carry. I would make it difficult for everybody. I would shit on myself. I would go to the bathroom. I would just make sure everybody who has to handle me would have a bad day. Some people would probably go up and like hold their head up high and go, you know, I may be guilty, but God forgives me, and then they die. I think when you die, you go to the bathroom anyway, so there's no, you know, I mean, no, fuck it. I would shit on myself. One of the crazier stories I heard about the prison is some of the guys who were in the cells here, they were called trustees. They were trustees, and they were trusted enough that they would say, all right, listen, I'm going to go out to the store, buy some cigars, maybe some produce. I'll be back. And they would leave the prison, and the prison guards would let them. And sometimes they would come back, and sometimes they wouldn't. And if they didn't come back, they wouldn't be trustees anymore. It is a beautiful day here in Mount Holly, New Jersey. Yeah, so this prison, like I said, this is the inspiration for modern day prisons. And this was actually built a little bit over a decade before Eastern State Penitentiary was built over in Philadelphia. Before this prison was built, prisoners didn't have their own cell. It would just be like one room and a bunch of guys in a room. So this prison kind of gave everybody their own space, and that's what modern prisons do today. The museum's only open Thursday through Sunday, and I'll try to have a link in the description of this video. $5, man. Not many museums $5 anymore. Pretty good. Pretty good. And this was the warden's house next to the prison, and we were just in that bridge where they would have to walk through. I just wouldn't want to live that close to my work. I have lived almost this close to one of my jobs. It was very convenient, but work is your only life then. Like, it's only work. You can't, like, what did this guy do for fun? Ever. Nothing. Here I am at the Burlington County Lyceum of History and Natural Science. It's a museum that you just go in the door. There's a really nice guy who took me on a tour of the museum. You get to take a look at these, the way the room was furnished in the 1800s. You could also they have a little space dedicated to natural sciences. You can look at skulls. The coolest thing is they have like the skull of a woolly mammoth on display. And you can just go in there. It's free. The guy in there is super nice. And this building was built, it was like a mansion. And then after a while, it became like a library, and now it's a museum. They also rent out space. I just stopped in. I saw the sign, and I was like, all right, I'll see what the Natural Science Museum's like. And I was the only one in there for 20 minutes. Good times. Well, that's it. That's my day in New Jersey. I made a wrong turn, which led to another wrong turn, which wound up with me seeing the skull of a woolly mammoth and a hanging gallows. How fun. So if you can, please hit the like button, please hit subscribe. And thank you for sailing with the Philly Captain. I don't like that. That's not a good ending. But that's going to be the ending because I'm done.